What's up, guys? So, this is going to be another weekly market recap. Last week, unfortunately, didn't go as planned. We made that SMT divergence on the weekly time frame and then ended up kind of just chopping around a bit and then ultimately moving a little higher. Um, I had a negative P&L last week. I lost like $800. That sucks, but it's not really a big deal since I could make all of that back and more in one trade. That's kind of a normal loss for me. But let's go see what's up for this week. All right, so coming into this week, we still have this bearish SMT divergence between the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 on the daily chart. Um, but something else to keep in mind is that the S&P 500 actually pushed above all-time highs, uh, which is kind of strange. Um, I thought we were going to keep moving lower after this big move down here, but I guess not. Um, Realistically, from here, I mean, I think we're going to be pretty bullish, and I actually think that a big part of why last week was so bullish was because of um, everything that was happening in Venezuela and our economy. It was kind of just pushing our economy to be more bullish. I don't know if that's a high time frame thing. I don't know if that's for the long term, but at least temporarily, that's what we were seeing. Uh, and in terms of Nasdaq, if we can break structure uh, right here and push higher, it would look really good for all of my long term positions. Um, but honestly, I think this week is gonna be really, it's gonna set us up for future weeks to come because if we go over to Forex Factory, we can see that we have a lot of high impact news this week. And speaking of that, going over how I'm going to be trading this week. Monday is a no news Monday, and typically whenever we have no news Mondays packed with CPI on the next Tuesday, it's a very good sign that you don't want to be trading because there's going to be barely any liquidity on this Monday. There's basically just going to be no good A plus setups. So I'm not going to be trading Monday, and then obviously Tuesday and Wednesday I'm not going to be trading either because we have CPI and PPI, which are going to impact the market a decent amount. And then we also on Wednesday we have the October data for PPI coming out, which is super late, but that's obviously from the government shutdown and everything that was happening there. Um, and then Thursday and Friday, these look like good trading days. These Fridays with no news can sometimes be a little iffy because it's kind of the end of the week, and a lot of traders are like tapering off because they did all their trading through the week and it's going into the weekend. But I've also caught some really good setups on no news Fridays. So we'll see what happens there. But Thursday is probably the best trading day this week. So if we do get a good setup, it'll be on Thursday. Um, Heading back over to the markets. Uh, Going over, I took a trade on what day was it? I took a trade on Monday and I lost it. And this is relating back to our focus on like macroeconomics and like the high time frame bias. We had an A plus setup here, but we ended up just going higher instead of going lower. Um, and that's probably due to like the underlying factor of like most traders were placing longs because of that high time frame news. Um, Tuesday, I don't believe there was a setup, but Wednesday and Thursday, I actually missed out. Especially Thursday, I missed out on a really good short opportunity, and I feel like I just need to be like more focused and more like locked in when I'm trading, and be a little less chaotic and frantic. One of the biggest things that like improved my trading throughout these past couple months was simplifying everything and getting into like a relaxed state. And I feel like this first week back, I wasn't very relaxed. I wasn't really in that like flow, and I need to get back into it. So going to this next week, that's like the number one thing I'm going to be focusing on, is just getting back into that flow and kind of relaxing while I'm trading and just being okay with risking money and watching the charts move. Um, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of our big companies like like Meta and Nvidia and all of these, they look like they're gonna have. I mean, they're obviously correlated with these indexes because they make up these indexes, but I mean, they look like they're going higher as of now. Um, but I mean, I guess all we'll see it all in due time. Because like honestly, I want us to go lower. Because we're really far from these all-time highs on Nasdaq. I mean, that's a 712 point move or tick move. That's like that's like pretty hard to get to. Um, but like I don't know, it's just kind of interesting because seeing S&P 500 push above these all-time highs kind of makes me think like, yo, what if we make a high time frame all-time high S&P divergence? That's like going to definitely push us lower back down to these lows down here and maybe even back down to these lows that I've been looking at. Um, Overall going into this week, we have kind of a mediocre week. It's not like last week. Last week was a better trading week than this week. And that kind of sucks because I didn't really capitalize on last week. Hopefully, some of you guys capitalized on last week and took some good trades and made some money. But this week's going to be kind of slow in the beginning, but it'll ramp up at the end. So I'm not expecting too much this week, but we'll see what happens. Make sure you guys are sticking to your rules, sticking to your psychology, not over risking, not doing any of that stuff that you know you shouldn't be doing. If you have any questions or any feedback, please leave it in the comments. I love that stuff. And I'll catch you guys later.